Or good morning or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and time for a disclaimer, as we normally do before the show. Before we start tonight's program, this is a reminder this episode will address various topics related to mental health, addiction, and a reminder about multiple sclerosis. These may be sensitive to some of our viewers. Viewer discretion, as always, is advised. We remind you to please consult your doctor, your mental health professional, your outreach group, your sponsor, or specialist before adopting any change to your dietary, physical, and or mental health regime. If you're looking for options to go down with respect to mental health, contact SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, at 1-800-662-HELP. It's 1-800-662-4357. The service is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and is a confidential free information service for individuals and family members facing such stressors. Importantly, if you're facing suicidal crisis or emotional distress and need to be put in touch with a crisis center, call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. Or go to suicidepreventionlifeline.org. You can also text the word HOME to 741-741. These resources are also available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And I would be absolutely missing something if I'm not talking about the thing that I've been dealing with for the last 10, 11 years with demyelination, but since the beginning of the year by way of diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. This has been paramount in my mind and my heart, and I have to say that the National MS Society is a collective of passionate individuals who want to do something about MS now, to move together towards a world free of multiple sclerosis. Multiple sclerosis is comprised of unpredictable and often disabling flare-ups of the central nervous system. Such flare-ups disrupt the flow of information within the brain and between the brain and the body. The National MS Society is the largest private funder of MS researchers in the world, investing more than $1 billion to date. MS stops people from moving, but the National MS Society exists to make sure that MS doesn't. To contact the National MS Society, please call 1-800-344-4867. Once again, 1-800-344-4867. Or go to their website at nationalmssociety.org. Thank you to all of you who have donated money to this amazing organization, or those that have just learned more about multiple sclerosis and demyelination by going to the National MS Society. It touches me and over to 1 million people in this country that have multiple sclerosis in so many ways, and we appreciate all of you. And on that, let's begin. You know, that character back there, that cantankerous Triceratops who thinks he's a T-Rex, has something to say about technical difficulties and what transpired on Tuesday. Needless to say, tonight we're going to talk about gratitude and what has transpired thus far and what the next steps are, because it has been such a journey. And this is the venture forward. Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you may be, and welcome to the Venture Forward. I am John Venturini, a recovering addict of alcoholism, overeating, obesity, and compulsive gambling. And it's an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. Couple of quick notes before I go to the comments, because I see a lot of you here, and I'm very happy about this. We've expanded the ticker. There have been a lot of questions over the last few weeks about expanding the outreach on the ticker as far as places you can go when you need help, whatever sort of help you're looking for. The ticker's been enhanced with that information, and needless to say, we will be talking more about those numbers and entities over the upcoming weeks. But we provide these numbers and websites as a service for all of you in the Venture Forward community, and as I mentioned, it is an honor and pleasure to see all of you tonight. Gratefulness. Gratefulness, and also this journey. This journey has been a very long journey. I mean, we could say the journey's been all my life, but the last 3 years, since January of 2019 and February 2019 when I started tracking food, going to the point where I realized I have an alcohol problem and going sober there, and realizing I had a gambling problem and not gambling anymore. I think my first level of gratefulness is the fact that I'm able to rise above these things and start living a healthier life. And we'll get to a lot of the particulars in just mere minutes. But in the course, I would say of the last 2 months particularly, but especially within the last couple of weeks, I am reminded how incredible this journey is. And I'll talk to exactly what I'm talking about in a minute or two. But like the trip out west was really cathartic for me. And also just realizing that I am doing my darnest to go over everything. The MS, demyelination, moments where I'm thinking I'm having an episode related to the MS and realize it's just, John, you're working out too much. Maybe you have to eat more. Wow, you never expected me to say that in this life. Just to be living this has been so important. But I want to say hi to all of you. And who wins the door prize? And that is that of Jamie over on YouTube. She says hi, and I say hi right back at you. Hope you're having a great evening. We have Laura Williams over on YouTube. She says she's grateful to be here. I'm grateful to have you here. Thank you for coming on tonight. For some weird reason, I cannot get her comments up here, but let's I'll bring that up later. Let's see. Easy over on YouTube says, hey to you. And Laura says, I just got caught up with last week. JV, Laura, I'm glad you're watching the show, and muchly appreciated as always. Let's see. And then let's see. Let's talk about this for a second. Easy says, I was a bit cranky yesterday, almost as if a bee bit my... Of course I brought the comment up, didn't I? Bee bit my ass and I reacted, so I took my energy by digging up rocks and dirt and filled my garden bed that had 4 rose bushes. That could have been very thorny, I'm sure. And we have Dr. Gilly in the house over on YouTube. Dr. Gilly, good to see you as always. We got Sue W on YouTube saying, hi everyone, Ingy, glad you're here. Ingy, for some weird reason, I cannot get your comments up on the side panel over here, so I hope everything's okay, and needless to say, you know, we're glad you're here tonight for sure. Jamie says, what a nice ticker. Yeah, I think the addition of those resources have made the ticker a lot more than just the normal things we talk about. I think it's got a lot more information in there, and we'll talk more about the numbers that are there in the coming weeks. It's really important. To be able to get help whenever we need it, especially by way of mental health for what we've discussed in the last 3 months. Definitely. And Gilly says, I manufacture medical equipment. I'm thankful and grateful for unlimited overtime and 66-hour weeks. Well, 66-hour weeks is a long week, but, you know, thankful for the gig. That's important, Gilly. I'm Glad you're here, as always. So, many different things going on in this episode. We're reflecting, we're grateful, but we're talking about next steps. Because there are a bunch of next steps. And some next steps that are not even on a slide. But we're going to talk about it. So let's go over and reflecting on all this, so to speak. In the sense that these are things we might have talked about before, some things that we haven't talked about before. But I think it's important to look at all of this en masse and see exactly what all of this is. So tonight's show, we're reflecting on nearly 3 years of weight loss. It's going to be 3 years come February. Next Friday, not tomorrow, but next Friday is a very important day. It'll be my 1,000th day of tracking food. So to continue down this road and watching what I'm eating and doing everything I can to be rid of so much extra weight, but living a healthier life has been so important. We'll get to the numbers in mere seconds. Understanding all of this, we're going to talk about that as we go forward. Thriving and surviving, I think, has been part of the story all along, but definitely not only surviving, but thriving as well. Gratefulness for all these events, gratefulness for everything, whether it's good or bad, and the lessons learned, all of that. A high level of gratitude, and we'll talk about that towards the end of the hour. And then next steps, because there are plenty of next steps. You know, we learn, we go forward, there are plenty of next steps. And then, of course, as always, questions and comments. And we had one pop up here. Jamie says, wow, 1,000, you are a rock star. I'm living the best life I can, Jamie, and thank you. Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that a lot. So, I'm down 305 pounds. 305 pounds. I said I was going to be happy if I lose 280 in all this. I'm down 305. I was at 480 in January of 2019. I am at 175 as of this morning, which no, because I'm not supposed to weigh myself unless it's Friday, but I did anyway. Scale was right there. I was curious. 175. I can't believe it. I can't believe what the graphic says. I can't believe the numbers on that board over there. I cannot believe everything that has transpired up to now. But I know that's what happens when you put your best foot forward and you don't give up on anything. Especially, I'm going to go to Maine for a second. Especially your health. You cannot give up on your health. It is the important thing we have here, and we cannot lose sight of that. And there are some days where it is very difficult, extremely difficult to say, you know what? I'm not going to do it. Or, you know what? I don't know why I'm doing all this. Or, you know what? Why am I counting it? Why am I counting anything? And you realize that you're not going to have that sort of massive drop right away, but you work at it. And it may be the sort of thing where you have to add things in as you go forward, as you start building a little bit of momentum. This was all not the same program in the beginning. This was added piecemeal by piecemeal. So it's important to talk about that and realize, again, not a nutritionist, not a dietitian, not a therapist. I'm just telling my story, just telling you what I did. Jamie says, that graph floors me. Damn. Well, that graph floors me too. That graph absolutely floors me. And by the way, shameless plug, not a sponsor. I have an app on my phone called Pacer. Keeps track of your steps, keeps track of the hikes and walks that you'll go on. But then it does insights like that graph over there. Hey, I had pointed the right way. Hey, over there. See, gotta point that way, and it points. Yeah, got it. Such as that, and I think when I saw that this morning, I had to take a screenshot of it and share it with all of you, especially when we're talking about gratitude. and thankfulness and just reflecting on all of this. So, okay. So, how did this happen? It's a question of, it's a diet that takes many forms, right? I know I pointed the wrong way, but see, when I point that way, it points at the side. Yeah, easy. The diet that has taken many forms, in the sense that, one, it started with basically a realization that the thing that's worked twice before in the caloric reduction was the thing that had to start first and foremost. Second, we talk about the time in late May where I had one too many drinks and realized, well, I'm not going to lose much weight if I'm going to keep on drinking. It was a major problem, and yeah, I'm an alcoholic. So that was the sort of thing where it really took a form off of that. The third piece of this was then setting up guidelines and goalposts on macronutrients and not just calories, and working on my mental health and realizing that protein is basically the most important thing, followed by carbohydrate intake, followed by sugar intake, followed by all of that. That was done over time. That wasn't done from the get-go. I think in the beginning, when I say caloric reduction, I meant caloric reduction. It was down to like 1,200 to 1,500 calories in the beginning, and that's ungodly for someone who's in his 400s. So that's to shock the system and get me going. And then by July, I was at a point where, okay, let's add on to this. So in July at 371, we started adding different elements to this. We go 9 months into the future. We go into April of 2020 and realizing, okay, now it's time for me to be physical, to do squats, push-ups, walking, all of it. I don't think it took a formalized form until this year, but it started going down that road in April of 2020. We go 1 year later, because there was something called the Backstreet Boys reunion tour that we all dealt with, and I joined a gym. I started training, and that's at 214. That was 7 months ago. In 7 months, I lose another 40 on top of that. I'm at 175. My body fat's down to 14%. I'm training for road races, and I've become the skinniest I've been since early 7th grade. I haven't been this skinny since 13 years old. And yeah, I was a big kid when I was in 5th grade and 4th grade. So it's just really dramatic to see all this, and to experience all this, and work at it and work at it and work at it. But I don't know. I'm really thankful. Really thankful. Couple comments. Matt Haas, co-host of the VF Talks, the Friday conversation about anything and everything, says, hi, JV, and I say hi to you, Matt. Hope you're doing well. And Laura says, wow. Yeah, it's, at this point, it's, as I was telling someone earlier in the day, it's not a question now of the weight loss. Well, obviously the weight loss took place, but now it's a question of maintaining it. And as we know before, there are 2 times in my life where I lost a massive amount of weight and ended up gaining it back and then some. We talk about 2001, 2002. And I went from 425 down to 185, and then over the 2000s, I ended up gaining the weight back and then some to go to 440 by 2010. 2010, I'm at 440, and I have to lose the weight again. I had a couple of very poignant conversations, very important conversations. Started losing the weight over a year and change, and I think it's because I did it the wrong way. I did it really fast. I went from 440 to 245 by the end of 2011. And you could understand what happens after that. Go from 245 all the way to 480. Because again, I did it in the wrong way. My mind wasn't there. I was still succumbing to things that I'm addicted to, addicted by compulsion and whatnot. So I think now, having gone through all this, I have mechanisms and ways to cope with it. So I know exactly what to do. Is it perfect? No. There will be things that get thrown up in my way and curveballs along the way, but I have a better strategy now. Is it physical activity? Yes. Is it nutritional sort of guidance? Yes. Now it's a question of maintaining and not eating to lose. And then also staying hydrated and doing everything I can. I'm not going to have perfect days every day. There'll be days I don't have enough sleep. That's happened a few times over the last 2 to 3 weeks. But it doesn't mean that all's a loss. I just keep on pushing for the next day and trying to get back to a place where I can be. That's the thing we all have to realize. It's not an all or nothing situation. If we're not perfect one day, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. We just pick up by your shoelaces and we go back at it the next day. One day at a time, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And go back to the deck here. We talked about this last week, but I have to bring these sort of poignant quotes again as far as the things that I held in me, in the sense that I mentioned the fifth one earlier, but either this changes or it's the end. There is no alternative. Enough is enough. You have not because you've asked not. One day at a time, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, and every moment is a gift. All 6 of these things are very poignant and very important in all of this. We must not lose sight of any of those 6 things. When you're dealing with massive situations that affect our health, we must think about ways to get around that and go into a healthier path. That's why the second bullet point, there is no alternative, is so important. With everything else, can we talk about suitable alternatives? Sure. I mean, there are ways around things. There are creative ways around things, but I had to do what I had to do. I had to go down the road starting in February of 19, because if I didn't, we wouldn't be having a show right now. It wouldn't be me. It wouldn't be any of that. Easy says, can you laugh at yourself sometimes, John, when you were big? For example, I joked a bit, like saying if someone teased me, I would say, shut up or I'll sit on his head. No, I've never done that. However, I don't think, it depends on my mindset. There were days where I didn't take myself seriously, but then in itself, Easy, that's part of the problem too. If I belittle myself, I don't think I understand what's going on. If I'm too much in the delusion of that, I lose the gravitas of where I am at 480 pounds. So, yeah, there were times where I laugh at myself, but I'm not like that. Although I will say that is very funny, Easy. For sure. Jamie says, I've added you have not because you asked not to my list of reminders too, since you said it last. Love it. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you. So, these are the things we're reminded of. These are the things we remember. These are the things we march towards. I shrunk the timeline for a second to talk about how this is with diet, sobriety, and MS, in the sense that, as mentioned before, February 2019, started tracking food. April 2019, I learned about internal family systems through a dear friend. I think without the therapy, I don't think I'd be where I am now either. Therapy is so important. We must not lose sight of the importance of mental health. It's also the reason why the ticker has become longer, in the sense that there are many places we can go to for that help. In June, I searched for therapists. In July of 2019, I started therapy. We fast forward to December of 2020, being in the ER on New Year's Eve with demyelination, January 2021, the MS diagnosis. But I didn't give up. There was no giving up. And I think when I started going on a drug for my relapse remitting multiple sclerosis, I think things became possible. Did I feel down and out after the half infusions and the full infusions? Yeah. But I think I didn't lose sense of myself. I still had goals in my mind. Like, okay, I'm going to make sure I get an amount of physical activity that I am happy with, that my watch is happy with, that I'm working to drop a suitable number of calories per day, number of steps. Physical activity is important. Now, I'll throw this out, and this is something I've had debate with many people before, about the importance of something like 10,000 steps. Now, granted, 10,000 steps might be marketing, might be a little bit of marketing, but it does talk to how much we need to be moving on a daily basis. We were not made to be sedentary. If we think about our jobs, if we have desk jobs or whatnot, and we're just sitting at our desk most of the day, we're sedentary. We're not moving. We have to move. Even if just a little bit, we have to move. Some people say 4,000 steps is adequate. Some people say 7,000 steps is adequate. I'll go back to 10,000 steps, sure. Because 10,000 steps, if you do the calculations, almost based on foot width and whatnot, it's like 5 miles. I'm good with 5 miles. And I think at the point now, I don't think it's hard for me to get to 5 miles. I think there are things I look forward to every day. Like, going to the gym or going for a hike or going for a walk. I actually like going to 5 miles. Would I be devastated one day if I don't get there? No. I just know that the next day I'll try to get there again. I think in all of that, it's allowed me to do some really awesome things. Like go to Oregon, like to hike the Columbia River, and like go on long walks wherever I go on vacation or even on business and go for long walks. I would have never been able to do that 2.5, 3 years ago. So I think for me, that's a major pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, isn't it? The ability to do all those sort of things. So whether 10,000 is the right number or 7,000 is the right number, at the end of the day, does it really matter? Obviously you should see your doctor. If you're going to see a nutritionist, see your nutritionist, dietitian, what have you. For me, 10,000 is always a solid number as far as steps. And I think in that, it has really opened up a lot of doors for me this year. A couple comments. Easy says, I do get offended sometimes and I don't show it. I come back with other jokes or I walk away. That's, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that. I like to have a good joke every now and then, but you make a very good point. If you don't come back with another joke or you're offended and you just don't want to deal, just pick up, move away. And that's true with a lot of things in life. That's making sure we have the right sort of walls around us. Making sure we're taking care of ourselves. Making sure no one's bending them too much. You made a very good point there, Easy. Gilly says, do you consider yourself to be exactly the same person with different habits and behaviors, or has the experience made your thought process make you a completely new human being? I think there's some nuances of the old. I still consider myself a foodie. I had a really fun conversation about that last night. But I think for the next 4 or 5 years, I'll be tracking everything, even though I've made my goal. I have to be aware of what I'm taking in. So yes, there are things that are completely new, completely different than what I used to do, but then there are things that are still part of the old world, so to speak. Good question, Kelly. Appreciate that. Jamie says, I know we talked about it a bit, but like anything else, the right amount of movement is tailored to the individual, but being active is important provided it's possible for the person. Absolutely. If it's not possible for you, then you find other ways, or you find other ways to keep fit. And for some people, I know they're in a sort of situation where they can't move, or God forbid, but ambulatory or whatnot. Even at that point, you start thinking of ways that they could stay somewhat active or somewhat just moving, so they could have the blood pumping and whatnot, so they can at least have physical activity, so their systems are still running. But that's a really good point, Jamie. Easy says, yeah, practice Rule 62. Yep. We have to have a sense of humor about things, for sure. And then Easy also says, sometimes we need to take a day off from everything, John, and sit back and relax and do whatever. Without a doubt. I find that those days off, I like doing when I go for a walk. Or, do anything. It's funny. The other day, I was at the gym. Shocker. And I was just thinking about things on the elliptical machine. And it was amazing what sort of level of thought I can have when I'm doing something like doing this on an elliptical machine. Because your mind starts moving. But that in itself could be a bit of meditation by way of physical activity. So, yeah, we do need the right to go ahead and take a step back, take a breather, and do whatever, without a doubt. But we could also do things to stay active, but also meditate. And it's not sitting cross-legged and, practicing just a mantra or whatnot. It could be something where we can meditate in the most strangest of places. Now, granted, do I still meditate on a bench, or I sit on the edge of my bed and I just look off and start visualizing things? Yes, I still do that. But it's amazing what sort of thought process can happen when you're doing something like cardio or just physical activity. And if you listen to a lot of instructors, they say just let your mind go. Be in the moment, but let your mind go. Easy says, walk, chew gum, talk the same time was hard for me when I first sobered up in 97. Yeah. There were a lot of things that had to be unraveled there. But as you get closer to that denouement, that unraveling of the knot, you find that it becomes easier. But it takes time. It takes time. So, it's with everything in life. Let's talk about gratefulness. I'm grateful for the journey. I'm grateful for having moments that told me implicitly and explicitly to stop. What do I mean by that? Implicitly would be that first time on a Southwest flight getting that extra seat. Explicitly would be a couple of choice conversations with people saying, hey, you have a major weight problem. Both of those happen to me over time. Both of those things have happened. Implicitly would be the sort of nuanced reaction when we've drank too much. Explicit would be the sort of conversation where someone reminds you of exactly how much you had to drink that night. Again, these are moments where we're implicitly and explicitly told that these are things that we cannot do anymore because it's affecting us. Now, sometimes it affects the other people as well. But implicit, explicit sort of ways of saying, okay, we got to stop. I'm learning more and more that in all of those instances, there was some level of care, compassion, and love, even when we're knee deep in the heart of addiction. What we do now is try to build a healthier lifestyle around it, past it. And if those people had ulterior motives, that gets vetted out over time. Those people, places, and things end up leaving stage right. So it's important. Easy says a comment I'm going to bring up right now. He says, a grateful man lives it. That's right. A grateful man does live it. A grateful man lives it and is able to reflect upon the way it was delivered, both implicitly, explicitly, what have you. You're right. Living it. Sue says, I love walking and being able to do it. When I first started, I couldn't even go a block. Now you're going further and further and further, and you love walking. It's an amazing thing to do. And Sue, the more you do it, the better off you feel. We have a comment about candy corn. I know Halloween was last week, but I'll bring it up. Gilly says, am I the only person who actually likes candy corn? Everyone thought I was crazy on Halloween, and you could put them in the freezer. Gilly, henceforth ergo, is grateful for candy corn. Gilly, this may come as a shocker to you. I like candy corn as well. There you go. Now for the opposing viewpoint, providing equal time. Jamie says, here's how you eat candy corn. Step 1, put it in the trash. That concludes tonight's point counterpoint. Gratefulness. Grateful for all of you. Needless to say, that's not even on the list. But grateful for comments like you. Oh, I love you guys. I love all of you. Gratefulness for not backing down and continuing to proceed on a healthier lifestyle, no matter how hard it is. Proceeding down that road. It is ever important, so important for us. Grateful for learning through my own example and others what to do and what to avoid. Some of the lessons we learn over time are things that we didn't do ourselves, but we bore witness to it and realized, oh my God, that could happen to me. Grateful for those too. And I think the last point is grateful for being able to get so much support and provide a ton of my own. And when I say that, I'm referring to all of you. I'm referring to this incredible community here, Venture Forward community, VF Talks community. You guys are amazing. Whether I met you live streaming or I met you through the recovery groups, all of you are incredible, and I am very, very thankful for all of you, and I love all of you, for sure. Sue says, every day I walk up to the 10,000 to 8,500. That's good. 8,500 is definitely better than, say, 500. And the fact that you're taking notice of this and you're wearing a watch or a Fitbit or what have you, you're doing the best thing you can, Sue. Proud of you. Keep up the great work. Jamie says, love you too, JV. And woo, Sue, get it. Yes, Sue, get it. Get it. Get it. Own it. Do the best you can. Because that's the best thing you can do, is the best you can. Jamie says, I look forward to your streams all the time. Jamie, thank you. Thank you all. I'm very appreciative. I had a poem that's on a slide, but it is very hard to read because PowerPoint's being wacky tonight. So I will recite it, and then at some point I'll show it on graphics at some point. But I wrote this week, and funny enough, it was a rainy day over here outside of Philadelphia, and I started thinking about gratefulness because we were going to talk about this on Tuesday, and then of course there are technical difficulties left, right, and sideways. But I wanted to share this with you. It's called One Day. One day is done, for another one is beginning. One thought is gone, as new ones start ruminating. One old habit borns a healthy other. The lessons of old are learned. One path of many becomes real. The ashes of manifest hath burned. One sunny day turns rainy. One bad episode turns grainy. One rainy day becomes into amazing wonder. Of all these thoughts hath continuously ponder. The work has just begun. One list remains a bountiful ton. As I start to begin to run, one's wallow is never any fun. The story gets told over and over again, grows and gets told. To one, to many, and to all. Invigorated, becoming better than ever. And yet with one, plenty to learn and to rise tall. I wanted to talk about something that I have been wanting to do for the last year and a half. in that of writing a book. I have written most of the book, and then MS happened late last year, early this year. I'm pleased to say that a lot of the context and a lot of the words around MS have been written, and all of it, the stories, the tips and tricks I've learned, poetry such as that, will be part of the book, and I'm looking to go to draft with it by the end of first quarter next year. So part of this story is journaling. Journaling has been very important to me. Whether it's me recording something to just get my thoughts out, whether it's me going on video and just putting together a video journal entry, whether it's me writing paragraphs upon paragraphs upon paragraphs, whether it's me writing poetry. All of that is part of my journal. And all of that is basically what this has become. And it just grows. It strengthens based on all of this. So I'm always learning. I'm always seeking new ideas, always trying to grow this. But we talk about gratefulness. I'm very grateful for the road I've gone down. Every moment is indeed a gift. Some comments. Going back to Jamie's comment. Sue says, me too. It's the best stream ever. Sue, thank you. Thank you all. Gilly starts going back to Candy Corn Road again. Sure. What if we find out that the huge garbage patch in the ocean is mostly candy corn? Well, then that's a problem with the EPA now, isn't it? Gilly says they would have to send me and Haas out there. Well, there you go. Get your scuba gear. Jamie says you'll be in paradise then. Laura is liking the line, one wallow is never any fun. Yeah, it's truth. Big time. One's wallow is never any fun. Jamie says, keep on writing, JV. You do lovely work. Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. I appreciate you. Laura says, thank you for sharing. Thank you for listening. Thank you for letting me share it with you. Easy says, act on a new decision today for better tomorrow if the result is positive. If the result is negative, course correct, be agile, and don't be afraid of a wrong answer. Every wrong answer, every no is just one step closer to a positive reaction, a yes. That no is actually a gift in itself because we then realize, okay, that's wrong information. Now we can try to do something around that. So a positive decision, a positive result is very important, but also sometimes a negative one too. Getting that piece of information and realizing, okay, it's time to course correct. Very thankful for that. Very thankful. Easy says, you're not trying, John. You're doing it. Thank you. Thank you, Easy. And Easy says, Mr. Beast will clean it up, Gilly. Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk about this tonight. Thank you for letting me share this. Not only tonight, but this entire show and as we go down the road, because it's going to get more and more interesting for sure. This week has been a very important milestone in that I realized that now it's not a question of the weight loss anymore. It's obviously a question of maintaining it. And also last week when, I realized I'm not eating enough and I'm working out massively. But I think now it's a question of evolving into the next chapter. And the next chapter is understanding, one, how do I go from a weight loss mode to a muscle building mode? How do I go from a weight loss mode to a road running mode? Not both at the same time, mind you. Obviously, a lot more physical activity to do that. some inspiration there, and I'll talk about that in a second. The other piece of that is how best to deal with conflict with ourselves, because we always talk about what happens when other people, places, things become in conflict with us. What happens when we take conflict with ourselves, and what do we do to best work around that? Those are the two topics for next week's episodes. The reason why road running is so important to me is actually because two really important people that have been a part of my life do road running. One of which has been a dear friend of mine for about 3 years. She runs half marathons down in North Carolina. And I vowed to myself that at one moment, at one time, I will go ahead and run a half marathon with her. And boy, I'm getting close. I am almost at a 10K pace now. That's one. The second one, I've known my entire life. And that's my cousin. My cousin has run, I think, 6 or 7 New York City marathons. And this week we'll be running another one. My cousin is an amazing guy. At some point, I would love to have him on the show. But he takes great pleasure in training for the marathon every year. And if you know the final 5 miles of the New York City Marathon going uphill through Central Park, you know how much of a bear that is. Everybody knows about the Verrazano piece, but the Central Park piece, oh my God, that's rough. But he's done it. And I hope at some point, hopefully 2022, if not that, 2023, I'm going to run it with him. I'll find a sort of proviso to get qualified for it. I want to run it with my cousin. So that's the thing. I want to run a half marathon with my friend. I want to run a full marathon with my cousin. That's the reason why I take up the idea of road running and road racing. Because these are two people I absolutely adore and love. And I would love to do that with them. The muscle building, I definitely want to... I want to be able to have upper body strength. I've had lower body strength for a long time, but upper body strength and a healthy core would be really miraculous for me. So that's why the strength training, big time. You're talking high interval intensity training. We're talking any form of strength training. You're talking about, AMRAPs, you name it. I've become really regimented to that too. But that's the reason why those two are of my mind. The road running, the road racing, and the strength training. Some comments. Easy says, yep, it helped me admitting my faults and being brutally honest with acknowledging I was the problems of my own making. Make the right decision for better tomorrow helps me to avoid hurting others. You can't dismiss that. You really can't. And if it's something that gets you to a better place, easy, by all means do it. I know that you're doing everything you can to live your best possible life, and having that sort of mindset doesn't hurt one iota, for sure. Easy continues and says, I am grateful I can face the facts about myself and admitting them and change my old ideas that do or did not work for me. I crashed through life thinking I was entitled to get anything I want. No. I agree with that too. However, I do believe in manifesting. I do believe that our thought process has to be in the ballpark of getting what we want. You have not because you ask not. Well, if you want something, you should start asking it. Asking for it, rather. Whether it's manifesting something, writing something on a piece of paper and then lighting on fire, or thinking about it, you have to start thinking about it. It's the way you get closer to it. And here's the thing, as many of you know, not only do we manifest good things, we can manifest bad things as well. We must never lose sight of that. So the most important thing we can do is always stay positive. Real, but positive. Let's see. Jamie says, I've not run a marathon since high school. More power to you. You got this. Thank you, Jamie. And when I get that marathon lined up, I hope you're there rooting me on for sure. Thank you. Thank you. Gilly says, remember Venturini. I'm the Gilly man. My personal record is 47.2 miles, going for a 50 on May 12th. The race is called Bloodroot. Gilly, you're an inspiration too, my friend. So, and at some point, I'm going to take you up on it. We may dedicate an entire episode on it. So maybe come December or January. So just let me know what works for you, because I would love to talk about your preparation for that run, but things I can do as someone who's went from not running at all and barely moving and being, as I've called, as I said about myself to others, a sloth. Moving from a sloth to someone who actually runs, I would love to get your advice. And I would love to do that on this show. So let me know what works for you, and we'll talk about running, because that'd be really cool. Easy continues. It says, I was wrong. And Easy then says, yes, get what I want as long as I don't hurt others. Yeah. We must never hurt anybody. We're here to, first of all, take care of ourselves. Put the mask over us first when the cabin pressure goes out. But then we take care of the rest of the row if they're having a hard time putting the mask on. Loving everybody. No matter what. That's how we become mindful elements and people and things and places of this universe. Easy then says nope. Nope. I know I try to do a lot, and it's not everything, but I think as long as I try and I put my best foot forward, that's the best I can do, as I told someone else earlier on this show. Easy clarifies, says, but it's amazing how things work out when I had become selfless by helping others through. John, it's miraculous. I know. It absolutely is. I love doing this show. I love this project. And I love all of you. And Sue says, love the goals you have. Thank you. And Sue, keep up the great work. Seriously, keep up the great work. I'm very proud of you. Let's talk about what's coming up. I kind of previewed next week's topics, but let's talk about what is the fun day of the week. Fridays, outside of the fact that it's Friday, but Friday night, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific, we have a conversation about anything, everything, what have you, called, VF Talks with Matt Haas, Paul Burke, and all of you. And I absolutely look forward to that conversation every week, and we'll be doing it again tomorrow night at 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific. Next week, we talk about how we move from a weight loss mindset to a muscle building mindset. We might throw in a component of the road running and sort of high cardiovascular activity as well, because it is related to my goals. That'll be Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And then Thursday night, we talk about, I was going to call it man versus himself, but I'm calling it now one person's conflict against themselves. Talking about what we do when we run into inner conflict and what we need to do to work around it. Some more comments. Laura says, can't wait to check it out. Laura, can't wait to have you watch tomorrow night. Or, the eCam link will be on the top of the screen. If you want to join us, you can. And Rich reminding me that there is a certain cantankerous triceratops that does... Oh, he's over there now. See, he's got a mind of his own. That will be part of the festivities tomorrow in Nat of Rex. That joke will never end, will it? It's, as long as we do this show, that joke will never end. Easy says, I know you do. That's why I come here, because you treat everyone equal and you make others feel good about themselves. And that there is a gift, my good man. Easy, thank you. Thank you. Love you. But on that, I'm going to say the same thing I say at the end of every Venture Forward and VF Talks. Stay safe. Stay sane. Stay strong. Stay sober. You're worth it. I'll see you tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern, 3:30 Pacific for VF Talks. Have a wonderful night. Fly be free.